So, in my last live stream, you all asked me about what gear I'm going to be using in 2025. So, I figured I'd do a little bit of a casual video for you all talking about the stuff I'm planning on using for my weddings in 2025. Also, if you've never checked out any of my live streams, I'll leave a link of that in the description and up above. Definitely make sure to check out the live streams. It's a fun time. I edit your photos on the stream. And honestly, like, who doesn't like to see their work being displayed to everyone else, right? But let's start out with the gear that I'm going to be using in 2025, starting out with my camera bodies. First and foremost, the X-T5 is still going to be my main go-to. And if you're new to the channel, I'm a Fujifilm ambassador. We only use Fujifilm here. So that's all I'm going to be talking about. The X-T5 hits everything that I want. And with that new update on the autofocus, it is an amazing camera. I have two of them. I use them dual sling because I shoot prime only. So this is going to be my main body. As a backup body or an occasional use body, I also have my GFX 102. A lot of people think it's kind of crazy to use the GFX 100, but honestly, I absolutely love that camera. It is a bit much for weddings, but I don't care. It's a good camera. I wish it had some more lenses on it, like really fast lenses, like the 55-1.7 and the 80-1.7. Those are pretty much the only lenses I use. If I could get like one more lens that was a little bit wider, it would be the perfect camera. But it's a little big and it's super heavy, so I don't use it too often. And then I'm also trying to do more video work for my couples this year. So I may bring the XS20 with me more often, which is actually what I'm using right now. It's my main video camera. And also I have a dope iPhone setup that connects to my hot shoe, which I just recently used on an engagement session, and it worked better than I even thought it would. So I'll be doing this a lot more at weddings. If you want me to make a specific video about this, let me know. I did mention it in the past, and if I can find that video, I'll link it up above. So that's going to be the main body, the Fujifilm X-T5, GFX 102 whenever I'm feeling a little spicy. And next, let's move on to the lenses I'll be using. So again, you all know I'm mainly a prime shooter. So for lenses, I'm working with the 16 f2.8. This one is mainly used for reception time and whenever I have super large groups. So this always comes with me. Next up is the 23 f1.4. I love this lens. It looks great, and it's probably the one I use the most often. As you all know, for a full frame equivalent, that's pretty much 35 mil, and 35 mil is my sweet spot for weddings. I absolutely love it. So this is always on my camera. After that is the 33 f1.4, which is also a great pair with the 23. I love the way they look together. And honestly, I think the 33 is my favorite prime lens by Fujifilm right now. It's close between that and the 56. But the reason I don't like the 56 as much is because I just don't like shooting super tight and long telephoto type lenses. I want something a little bit wider, and the 33 is basically a 50 mil full frame equivalent, and that was pretty much the focal length I started with when I started doing wedding photography. I shot everything on a 50 when I started. It wasn't until I started taking lessons from my mentor, Phil Porto, which if you don't know about him, I'll link him down below as well. But he got me to start seeing more wide, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So 50 is like the longest I usually like to shoot. I use it for a lot of my detail shots and things as well. So this one also stays on my opposite camera all the time. Again, two cameras. So one for the wider shots, which is the 23, and the other one for the closer shots, which is the 33. To fill that out, I have my longer lens, the 56 f1.2, an amazing lens. It looks great. But again, like I said, I don't like shooting very long. This is mainly for my ceremonies. Sometimes I bring it out for portraits because it works for that. But really, it's not really getting used too much. Speeches, ceremony, I don't know, like anything at the end of the night. Once we get into reception time, though, I'm pretty much on the 16 and the 23, and that's about it. So that's my main prime lens lineup. Now, I do have two additional lenses that I think I'm going to start using more often this year. So the first one is going to be the new 16 to 55 2. I love that lens. Y'all saw my videos about it. I was able to be a part of the launch with Fujifilm, which was awesome. If you didn't check out any of my other stuff, I'll link to their video up here about me using the 16 to 55 2. That lens is great. I actually used it on an engagement session and I love the results. It's super sharp. And while I don't prefer using zoom lenses, This is definitely something I'm going to start using much more often. Again, I had this engagement session like out in the mountains. So it was like a 3 hour drive for me. I didn't feel like bringing two cameras and an extra bag and a strap. It's just too much. So I decided to just bring my XT5 and the one lens, and it was a great setup. Now, if I'm using two camera bodies with the 16 to 55, I think I'm going to pair it off with the 90 f2. Now, the reason I'm going to do this is a lot of times I don't shoot super far, so this will give me so much more versatility because the 16 to 55 covers all the primes that I normally use, and then the 90 would give me even more reach, what I would use at like ceremonies and things like that. So I don't think I'm going to use these lenses all the time. Maybe I'll try it out to see how it works one time, but for the most part, I'm going to stick with my primes. I'm going to stick with what I know, my bread and butter. Like, I know this like the back of my hand. I know how to use all the lenses, where to use them. So I'm gonna keep doing that. But if I feel like going light, 16 to 55 and also the 90 f2. For my GFX lenses, we already talked about that. I pretty much only own the 55 1.7 and the 80 1.7. I sold my 110 f2, which was kind of a stupid move, honestly. That lens is great. I should have just kept it. I need something longer, closer to that 85 full frame equivalent, and I don't know why I just sold it. Sound off in the comments below, because y'all know the 110 f2 is probably like one of the best GFX lenses. Now, the thing for me is the GFX lenses are huge and they're hard to change. I don't have the biggest hands. So like changing lenses on the GFX is like a whole ordeal, and I hate doing it during a wedding day, whereas with the X system, I can do it super easily. So this is here nor there. The 55, the 80 will be my GFX lenses if and when I use it. After that, we have our flashes, which is super important. I'm pretty much going to be sticking with my Godox V862. Again, if it doesn't work, don't change it. What? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what I meant to say. What did I say, y'all? If it doesn't work, don't change it. So those flashes have worked for me forever and they're great. Now, I did recently get the V1 Pro and that thing is awesome. So once I get a second one, I think I am going to start using it more often. I love the flash. It works great. I think my biggest gripe is that the one feature I love the most doesn't work the way that I would want it to. So the coolest new feature about that, which I made a short about it, I guess I'll link it up above, but it has a sub flash, which is like a front facing flash that pretty much gives you a nice little fill light to shoot forward. So you can basically have your flash pointed up, have it bouncing behind you, and also popping some fill light in front of you, which is like game changing, especially if you're like me and shoot with only one flash on camera. However, I've been doing a lot more off camera flash recently, and what I found is the sub flash does not work while you're synced to other flashes, which was a huge loss. I was super sad about that. I would have loved it if it worked all together. Because the biggest thing for me, you may be thinking, well, John, what's the point if you have off-camera flash to have a fill flash? Can't you use your off-camera floor? Obviously. But on a wedding day, what happens is you set up your off-camera flashes, right? By the dance floor, they're static. Boom, that's where they're going to be. When you need to go out for sunset photos or someone is asking for a shot like over there, now you're walking away from your setup unless you bring one of the flashes with you. So that would be awesome to be able to just hit that sub flash while going away. Now, obviously, like I can just turn it off a sync so that it's not synced to the other ones and used it and turn it back. But like sometimes it's quick, like the bride's hanging out with her friends. Oh, take a picture. Oh, let me switch it off a sync. Like that's I don't want to have to do all that, right? So that's a little unfortunate. It is what it is. But I have one V1 Pro now. I'll see if I can get another one. If I do, I'll use those on my cameras, and then my off-camera flashes will still be my V862s. Speaking of flash, as a shameless plug, I do have my flash course. I'll link it down below. If you want to get started with flash, this is an easy course to just get you in there. This is not one of those like I'm going to master light and become the god of light or something crazy like that. It's just here's my flashes, here's how they work. I can use them. I'm a second photographer. Now I can impress the main with at least being able to know what I'm doing because, oh my God, so many second photographers. Y'all need to learn your flashes. I can't when I get someone who seconds with me and we get to reception and they either have no idea what they're doing or they just don't use the flash because they're just like, I don't know what it is. So again, check out that course if you want to learn more about Flash to get you in the door. Last but not least, we have our accessories, which I'm sure I'm going to forget some. This list can go on forever, and I didn't write it down. Again, this is kind of an off-the-cuff video, but the main accessories I generally always use, not counting bags and straps, those are a given. I always use those. You see them in my full wedding day videos. I'll link those up above as well. But the Lume Cube, so small LED lights, I'm definitely still using those. I love them for sparkler exits. They're great to have with you. I even use them at engagement sessions when I needed a pop of extra light, but I didn't feel like getting a whole flash out. I'll just hold it in my hand like this and take the photos. So Lume Cubes will always be there. Great option. I highly recommend getting them. I think I have a link, I guess. I'll leave that down below. And again, y'all know those links are all affiliate links. So it helps out the channel, helps out me and my family. I'm grateful for it. It doesn't cost anything extra for you. So thank you all for all of that. The other big accessory I'm going to be using this year, which I talked about earlier, is my iPhone hot shoe setup so that I can take video. Now, one of the biggest things that brought this on is being able to make video clips for my couples, and then you can load them into your gallery on PicTime. I made a video about that as well, which I will also link up above. But this is really cool, being able to deliver photos and have little video clips of the session right beside the photos. I actually, again, at my engagement session, just did this. It worked extremely well, and the couple already is downloading some of the video clips. So this is the future, y'all. If you're going to sit there and hate on content creators, content creators messing up the weddings, well, then do something about it. Don't just sit around hating. Offer it in your packages, charge more for it, or a little bit more, or just make it a better offering for your actual packages because you're doing more. And it doesn't take that much. You just put it in a hot shoe and take the clips. It's really awesome. So that whole setup I'll be bringing with me. That includes an ND filter for my iPhone, the hot shoe mount, and also an SD card reader for my phone so I can offload onto that rather than recording directly onto the iPhone. After that, we have our Chasing Stone flat lay mats. I always bring these. I used to not ever use them, but honestly, they are a great addition. I love being able to set up a flat lay and know that I have a place where it's gonna go. I don't always use them either. Like, I'll bring them with me, and if there's a dope spot somewhere on the floor or on a table that works, I'll use that instead. I always like finding a spot that I can use something like that instead. But having the option is huge because I've gone to too many hotel rooms and different places like that where it's just like nowhere to do a flat lay and you're like, ugh. Is the absolute worst. So I'm a huge fan. I'm actually not sponsored by them. I bought all of my flat lay mats by hand, and if you know anything about the prices, they are a little pricey, so I like spending my money. And after that, I can't think of any other accessories. I always bring my Lume Cube, my flat lay mat, obviously extra batteries, Magmod stuff, which I don't count, that goes with the flashes. I don't know, I can't think of anything else. I feel like there's an important one I'm missing. Let me know what kind of accessories you all use at weddings. Y'all might have some ideas for me, because the one thing I have seen, the one thing I've never done in my business, which I've seen too many people do it and it's awesome, is either having a set amount of things for your flat lay mats. So they'll bring like extra pieces to go with whatever the couple has, which is cool. I just can't be bothered to bring all that. And or like first aid kit accessory type stuff. I had a second who, she lives a little far from me now, so she doesn't second for me too often, but she would have like little scissors and little like Tide, the thing that gets out the stains and things, and all kinds of little tacky like putty stuff, so that if you need something to stay on a flat lay and not move, like she would bring all that stuff with her, and it was awesome. She had it in a little fanny pack. It was like Batman, every time you needed something to be like bam, and you'd be like, wow. Actually, she was such a good second, and y'all need to pick up on this if you're trying to second. Before I even got to the thought to ask her for the thing, she'd be like, here. And I was always like, whoa, that's awesome. So I don't do that. I probably should, because I've seen it save whole wedding days, but I'm lazy, I guess. But yeah, as far as accessories, I can't think of anything else. I'm sure the moment I stop recording this, I'm going to think of the other accessories that I would probably use. But that's my gear for 2025. Pretty straightforward, honestly. A lot of wedding photographers have like all kinds of stuff and like 30 different lenses, and it's too much. I forgot. Oh, you know what? I forgot. It came back to me. I have my extension tube so I can take macro shots. I don't like having a whole nother macro lens just for the one macro shot. It's a little too much for me. So I have an extension tube that goes in front of the lens so that it gets closer and I can get macro shots. I've been using that for a long time. I usually bring it with me. If I'm shooting GFX, I only have one for the X system, so I don't need it with GFX. I just crop in because it's 102 megapixels, right? So I get as close as possible and then just crop the rest of it in. So that's pretty much all of my accessories. It works for the whole wedding day. Everything I need is there. Again, mainly primes, 2 camera bodies, and yeah, it's straightforward. If you're new to wedding photography, like really, it's not that hard. Just learn what you want to do and then just try to get used to using it and you'll be good for the most part. So, if y'all liked a more off the cuff video like this where I'm chilling in my living room, y'all can see are cool. We made Christmas trees for Christmas and stuff, and we still got them up. And just other stuff like that. Just let me know. Hit the subscribe and like. I appreciate you all so much, and I hope this gave you some ideas of gear that you would want to use for your wedding days this year. Let me know in the comments what you're using, what are must-haves for you, and also check out my full wedding day videos, which I'll link over here to the side, and I will catch you all next time.